Hello, everyone. In today's episode, I'm joined with James, and in today's episode, me and James are going to be talking about chronic illness, and it's going to be a really nice conversation. So, thank you, James, for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and so just to start off with, James, if you could just introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. My name is James Richardson. I'm 28 years old. I am from a small town in Southern Oregon in the States called Klamath Falls, but I now live in Los Angeles. I suffer from a chronic condition called cystic fibrosis. I was diagnosed when I was born at 2 days old. For those of you who do not know what cystic fibrosis is, it's a genetic illness. Both of my parents had the defective gene, so when they had me, I got both strains of the genetic defect. When I was born, cystic fibrosis was a childhood illness. So the average life expectancy was between 13 and 15. When I was born, I was given a 19-year life expectancy. I was told by doctors to not plan to have relationships, not plan to have careers, jobs, not live a normal life because I wouldn't be living that long. But I've overcome all that stuff. I'm now 28 years old. By the grace of God and just being able to stay healthy, stay fit, overcome all the odds with cystic fibrosis, I'm here now to tell you that I'm the healthiest I've ever been. And I continue to go that route. Also, for those of you who do not know what cystic fibrosis does and what it affects, for me, it mostly affects my lungs, but also affects my pancreas, my bones, my liver, pretty much all my major organs. But for me, I lived 26 years of my life without ever being able to take a deep breath, dealing with multiple lung infections each year to the point where I was almost going to have a lung transplant or pass away. So I've overcome all these odds with my chronic condition. I mean, that's kind of a little bit of an overview of kind of what I've been through and kind of what cystic fibrosis is.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting because, like, as you said, that you was told that you probably live a short life up to 19 years, and of course that you shown that other people that have that as well. They shown
Yeah.
that you can live longer than 19, and so
Yeah.
you've done like it must have been a scary time though when you did turn 19 though, knowing that potentially you might not be able to live any longer.
Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of scary moments in my life of just dealing with battling the fact that you might not live that long, or you might die at a young age, leaving your friends, your family behind, not being able to experience life the way that you want to experience it and be able to accomplish all your dreams and goals. So it's very difficult. People with cystic fibrosis in my community, it's a tough illness to deal with, like many other chronic conditions. But now what I do is I advocate and I give back to my communities through health, fitness, and just a positive mindset to be able to get through the struggles and the tough times with cystic fibrosis.
Yeah, I think it's quite fun, isn't it? Like just talking about it to on social media to other people who want to learn about themselves, because that's what I found with Crohn's, with my Crohn's, and at the start I was diagnosed when I was 16, nearly 17. Yeah. So which I believe I probably had it longer than that. I probably when I was younger. But for through there, I think it becomes a hobby there. You want to advocate for yourself and to help other people that could be going through the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I actually didn't start advocating until I was 26. I kept my cystic fibrosis a secret for most of my life because of the backlash and just I'm not dealing with the fact that I didn't want to be different from my peers, from people that were, around me. I didn't want them to look at me as the sick, weak kid. So I masked a lot of that with just, working out and lifting weights and getting big and strong. So people didn't think that I was the sick kid that I was. But it took me a while to accept the fact to be public with cystic fibrosis and not care about what others think about it.
Yeah. I think like when I was younger, I would always think about what other people thought. I was always have like get affected by it, like what other people thought if I didn't know how to do something. But now as you get older, I think confidence with a chronic illness helps. I don't think I was really that confident before I had Crohn's. So once I got diagnosed, I probably still wasn't confident then, but as life goes on, you get more confident and you start to think, you not to worry what other people think of you. Like if you're doing, if you're in a good mindset and you're doing good, just not to get affected by other people.
Yeah, and accepting that that's you and that's your life, and for me, I had to reflect on that, and I had to sit and kind of figure out why I have cystic fibrosis, and similar to you, why do you have Crohn's? That's a question that we have to ask ourselves a lot of times in this community, is why was I born with this illness and all my other friends weren't? And for me, it took me 26 years to find the answer to that. And it was because, I think that we're all on this earth for a certain purpose. And a part of my purpose was to show people that you can overcome anything in life.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, you can still do the things you want to do. Like it doesn't stop you from like, it could potentially stop you from the pandemic. It's just a different side, of course, that will stop you from doing things at the moment. But like with a chronic illness way, that you can, we all have our goals. Probably a new year now, probably have new goals now, like with a podcast, with life in general. If it's like big events, like if you like your fitness, James, like maybe a few goals this year, maybe you could set yourself. It's just nice to set goals for yourself, I think.
Exactly. And it's not, it's also, I try not to let anything stop me, no matter what it is. That's kind of my attitude towards life and towards what I try to go after. I don't really try to let anything stop me, because things have tried to my body's been trying to stop me since I was born. So my attitude toward it now is just, it's a fighter warrior mentality that I'm always, I'm never going to let something stop me from getting what I want.
No, I think it's just the best way to be. Like, you could have, of course, you could have your down moments where not everything's gonna be great. Like, I found that, like, you might be in a little bit of a flare up, maybe, or, where you're in a little bit of pain, probably more than a little bit sometimes. But yeah, you just have to focus on I think hobbies is a great way to distract you, like especially if you're in pain or in the flare. Try to, like, if you like the football, if you like a certain program, just focus yourself on that rather than in your mind. I think if you're in pain and you focus on that, you'll feel it more and it will affect you more.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that, just to bounce off what you said, life is difficult for everybody, whether you have a chronic condition, whether you don't, life is just, it's tough. And then when you add all these problems on top of your already life that's already tough, it just makes you, look at life through a different lens. It makes you have a different attitude towards people, towards experiences, towards something happening in your life. My experience anyways, is I don't react the same as maybe somebody else would with a certain thing happening in their life, because I've had different traumatic events happen in my life. So a lot of stuff that happens in my regular life doesn't really affect me too much because of my cystic fibrosis.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like as you say, especially like what I found with a chronic illness is fatigue is quite a big symptom as well. And I've noticed that not everyone can, because some people get diagnosed quite young. For me, I got diagnosed at 16, so I kind of can tell the difference what fatigue was like beforehand and now. And like you could go to sleep, like for me, go to sleep in the middle of the day, and some people go to sleep in the middle of the day and really tired at night. And in my case, I'm not as tired at night time because I've already been to sleep in the day. But it's just those things that other people may not be aware of.
Yeah, the fatigue is definitely a huge one too, as well. Like for me, before I got this new medication that I'm on now that's helped me and kind of changed my life, I would be exhausted by 11 a.m. in the morning. If I get up at 7 a.m. and I would cough so much, I'm so exhausted from coughing all day long, all night long, and not sleeping. By the time 11 hits, I'm exhausted and I have to go back to sleep. So I understand the fatigue side of it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's tiring. Like, it's just like you're exhausted, like you've done a day's work or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or a week's work.
Yeah, week's work. I always remember that time when I was at school, like, and I played football with, like, as a lesson, a PE lesson it was, and I was shattered. I was, and like I was gonna fall asleep on the bench.
Yeah.
So I tried my hardest. Well, I do my hardest, and then my reward is to feel shattered afterwards.
Yeah.
Which everyone will feel tired if you have a chronic illness or not. But in my case, I'm physically tired that I want to go to sleep.
Yeah,
Which
it's an extra level of exhaustion, I think, is what
yeah.
it is. An extra level.
And you don't want that. You don't want to fall asleep. You want to not have that, but unfortunately, that's it. And like, I found, if you're on a flare or stress is quite bad, and sometimes that affects pain. Sometimes,
100%. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, which is unfortunate as well. Like, everyone gets stressed. Yeah, we're gonna get stressed about something.
It's always something, right?
Yeah.
It's not one thing, it's another.
Yeah, yeah. It can be little things as well. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
It's life. That's life, right?
Yeah, that's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be a little thing like a football team you support. They're losing. You get stressed about that.
Could be anything. Little
Yeah.
things can set you off.
Yeah, yeah. And like like, I think it does take time to like, as we said before, like accepting like your like condition and how to how go past it, because it's hard to speak about it. Like, it's not easy to come out and speak about a condition where maybe in your personal life, for example, your friends won't like know about it maybe, and we do think to ourselves, like you said, James, that why us?
Yeah, exactly. And then it becomes your identity, right? Like you have to, if what I dealt with, I went back and forth with was, okay, if I tell people this and I advocate for this is going to become my identity now. So when people hear my name, they're going to associate it with being sick, being ill, being that sick person. And I have to be able to deal with that. And am I going to be able to be okay with always being in that box of being, oh, you're the sick kid, you're this, I didn't know you were sick, I didn't know you were ill, right? But see, for me, I've never looked at myself as sick and ill. I've always looked at myself as, okay, I have this chronic condition. Obviously, I can't hide it, but I'm not going to let it define who I am and what I want to do in my life. And that's the most important thing too. I think that if anybody is thinking about being public or telling people about it, I think that it's very important. You have to be ready in your mind before you go on and tell everybody, because there's going to be repercussions, and you have to be mentally prepared for those.
Yeah, yeah. It is tough, like especially when you are diagnosed, if you're like old enough to realize it, because if you're young, you're obviously not going to know. You're most likely your parents or family will tell you that you have it when you're old enough to understand. But like when I knew when I got diagnosed with Crohn's, I was in school, so it wasn't the easiest part because it was like year 11 at school, and where everyone's at preparing for exams and everything like that. So it wasn't the easiest part, but I got told I had it, and first of all I just thought it was just a little sickness bug that you can get over or something like that. But because I lost lots of weight as well, but through that I researched it on the internet. I think like everyone that has different chronic illnesses, when you're told that you have a certain thing, you will go home and you will look on Google or something, and probably won't be pretty to do that.
Yeah, no, it's the difficult part of having that, because you go down a rabbit hole of kind of researching your own illness and researching what's going to happen to you, and then everything that's happening to you is adding up to how you feel now.
Yeah, I like it. it's not like on surgery. You could surgery will be an option on there for most chronic illnesses, but it's not 100. It's not like a definite like that you will have these things. It's just I think you may think that when you do look, because lots of people have had that, but like I think no one wants these things, but if it helps us, that's the main thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Thankfully, I've never had any surgery, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
very glad
yeah.
about that.
Me too. I've never had any with anything to do with my Crohn's.
Yeah.
I've had some surgery when I was younger, but that was completely different to Crohn's. It was some operation when I was very little. But from the Crohn's side, I've only ever been on medication. I've taken biologic medication, which cancer patients take. So it's quite high dose medication, which puts you in makes you really vulnerable to catching other things. So, which I, I'm always one to say when I have meetings with my consultant, can I go down on this medication? Because of course, when a pandemic, so you're gonna get more scary when other people are getting ill and catching the virus. But it's just one of those things that you're always going to be curious about, like if you going to come off medication or uh, and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think with surgery, it's always going to be on our minds. I think, um, like, are we going to have that, or are we not going to have it? It's just, I think it's a luck of the draw if you're going to have it or not, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people in my community, especially, have had a lot of surgeries, 13, 14 surgeries by the
Yeah,
time they're, 15, 16 years old. But thank God I've never had any type of surgeries. I've come close, but never have. And I hope I never do.
yeah. Fingers crossed that we don't.
Yeah.
But I know with Crohn's that if you are diagnosed quite young, you are quite likely to have some sort of surgery in your life. But um, that's one of the things that I'm always curious about. But if it does good, if it helps reduce pain, or for me it would be a last resort, like
Of course.
so surgery. I think
Yeah.
for most people it would be, um, but because you don't want organs taken out, it's like um, but if it has to be, it has to be. And another thing is a stoma. It's that it's another thing that people would worry about.
Yeah. I agree. Definitely.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate to have one. Um, but I do love seeing people that like on social media, people raise awareness of having their stomas, which I think is great. But I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do it straight away. But it takes a big confidence boost for people to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. No, it's not easy. That's for sure. It's not easy to change your whole life.
No, no. Um, yeah, it is tough, but it's just what happens, and we just have to see. But James, like you said, I see like you like your fitness. Was that like has that always been your like your hobby?
Yeah. So when I was young, I was told that I wouldn't be able to ever play sports. Was one of the things that I've told that was going to be taken away from me because of cystic fibrosis. So when I was young, my mom put me in every sport possible to kind of outweigh that prediction of my life. So I've been playing soccer since I could walk. My whole family's from England too. I don't know if you know that, Mason, but my
Okay.
mom's from Liverpool and my
Okay.
real dad's from Southampton. So I come from an English culture. So I
Yeah.
started playing soccer since since I could walk. I played soccer my entire life, but the thing about with CF is we're very malnourished.
Mm.
So our pancreas doesn't dissolve fats and foods like it's supposed to. So we have to take enzymes with every single meal to be able to digest our own food. But it causes malnutrition and malabsorption. So it's hard for us to gain muscle. It's almost impossible for a lot of us to gain muscle size and gain weight. So I was very skinny growing up, very thin, very fragile. So I got into the weight room when I was 17 and started lifting weights. And I've been in the weight room ever since. I'm 28 now, so 10 years, something like that. 11 years. And it's helped save my life, build me up stronger. And now I do it for a living too. So I teach other people, I help other people in the CF community learn how to do it the right way with CF. And also I have my own personal training business here in Los Angeles that I travel and help others as well.
That's great. That's great. And like, it's good that you've got something going, because like it's always nice, like having your own business is handy as well, because like your own boss, you don't have to rely on no one else.
Yeah, it's difficult, and it's nice, but it's also difficult too, because you know, when you go to a job and you work a job, you get paid every 2 weeks or whatever it is. And for me, I dictate when I get paid. So I have to work, you know, it's very nice being free, but you also have to work a lot harder. It's a lot more stress sometimes, because you know, it's your responsibility to make money. So it's difficult, but I would way rather have the freedom of working for myself than working for anybody else.
I completely understand, because it's easier, but I know what you mean by it's hard, because like you have to rely on things, like you have to be like pretty independent as well. I think the people who run their own business. So I think it's really good, like of you like to do that, and it's a hobby of yours as well. It's something you like to do. So
it's my life. Fitness is my life. I always tell people that, you know, I think fitness should be something that you implement into your life, not something that you do for 6 months or a New Year's resolution or something like that. I think that fitness is something that can save people's lives, and it has saved my life in a sense. So I believe that, you know, your life, you should have some sort of fitness in your life, whether it's walking, whether it's running, playing sports, whatever it may be. You have to get your body moving, because bodies are not meant to be sedentary, whether you have chronic conditions or not. But for my chronic conditions, because it affects the lungs a lot of times, it's very important, because we have to get the thick, sticky mucus out of our lungs, because if it doesn't, it sits dormant, it grows bacteria, and then we have to get lung transplants or be on antibiotics. So for us with cystic fibrosis, being in the gym and, you know, just doing something is very, very important, and it can just build you up so that when you get sick, your body is, you know, naturally stronger to fight things off.
I think it's great. You're it's just it's just another reason why you do what you do, James, because not everyone does enjoy their job.
Very true. It's a passion of mine for sure. You know, it's, you know, I do love it, but there is days where I don't, you know, and that's life too. You know, it's you have to make sure you keep that passion alive, because sometimes when you turn your passions into your job, it can kind of derail a little bit. So you have to be careful with that too. But you know, fitness is all I know. Fitness is all I do. So for me, it's second nature. I can do it in my sleep, but it's taken me a long time to get to that point. Lots of trial and error for sure.
It's good to be sporty. Which I've kind of lacked, I suppose, during the past year or two. I'd probably say it's the pandemic, but I do go out for walks, and in the winter it's a hard time because it is cold, and I suppose you don't want to. But
I think it's just about, you know, giving yourself not giving yourself the wiggle room to get yourself out of it in a lot of ways too, because I think that with us, especially with chronic conditions and just people in general, fitness is not something that a lot of people enjoy doing. You know, they don't want to go out and work out. It's difficult. The weight is heavy. You know, it's hard to run. Like there's a lot of, in my world, there's a lot of getting out of things because it's too difficult. You see, fitness and me and fitness I love fitness so much because you can't fake anything in the gym. You can't pretend anything in the gym. And that's kind of my attitude. So I love it so much because I'm such a real straightforward person. So when it comes to the gym, nobody can hide from anything in the gym. No. So that's why I'm very attracted to working out and being weightlifting and boxing and doing what I do, because I think obviously it's great for you, but it strengthens your mind in a way where you implement the same skills that you learn in the gym, whether it's just not backing down from lifting heavy weight or not making excuses for yourself. You implement that into your real life, into your job, into your relationships. So I think that, the gym is a foundation for your life in a way, because if you don't have, or being fit in any way, you know what I mean? Playing sports or doing whatever it is, it's the building blocks to being a good human, I think.
Yeah. Like I remember when I was in school, and I loved doing PE, and it was like you had, like in the summer you'd have all these competitions like that people would put me in. I was kind of I say I was good at sports. So I was a good runner. I was put in these running competitions, and like it's like a normal track like you see on the telly, and I did them, and like it was, I found it really fun, and like for me, I love football, so like now, not at this moment because of COVID and stuff, but I do enjoy coaching, and I have been I have coached. Like I got my coaching, like I did a FA level 1 the coaching course before the pandemic, so like end of 2019 I did that, and it was quite fun. It was quite fun, like mixing other people, like have to do like first aid as well, have them work on the defib, which you have to do when you are in any line of sports. I think you have to have those like qualifications to have that, in case like someone you're working with like has like a problem or something like that, where you have to act quite fast. So
yeah, it's good
yeah.
skill, definitely.
Yeah. And like as we know, like it in the UK, when the Euros were on last year, there was I think English a footballer who did have an attack on the pitch. So it just proves that, like, I think ever since then, all the football clubs in England did have make sure they had like defibs in the football grounds, and just to make sure if anything happens.
Yeah, that emergencies happen all the time. It's good to be prepared.
Definitely. But like that is what I like to do. Like I like to do football coaching. I like because I talk about on the podcast, talk about autism as well, and like a coach when I was very young taught me, and like since then I've like helped out, and like just recently just trying to get back into that like as a job, just trying to, and my role would be to work with people, be a coach to people that have autism, because people with autism do lack that involvement, and so for me, that being a coach would show them that they're not, they can do it, they can, they have to be shy, they can get involved, and just try to be the best as they can.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, yeah, that's giving back, 100%. I think it's very important in our communities for them to see people like us doing things that they want to do. That's the reason, one of the reasons why I started doing all this was because when I was growing up, I never had somebody to look at and see like, wow, this guy has cystic fibrosis, but he's in the gym, he's doing all these things, he's athletic, he's living a normal life, he has his own job. Like there's all these things that you're told that you can't do. So for me, I wanted to be that guy for kids, young adults, teenagers that are coming up with CF and very sick and don't know what to do with their lives, which it can be very difficult. But when you have a role model in a sense, and somebody to go on Instagram and look at and see, it can give people hope. It can give them motivation to get up and do something with their lives rather than be a victim to their illness.
Yeah, I think that's the main hope, just to give someone back, and just the hope that someone sees what you're doing. And like Instagram's probably one of the best social media platforms to use to get that message out there. And like probably in 2020 was, I went on there, and then I saw lots of people that had chronic illness, Crohn's, inflammatory bowel disease, that were there, and I didn't realize many people who else had it, because I was told it was rare, and I thought,
you feel alone, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times you can feel it's a lonely life a lot of times with chronic illness. and you have a feeling that nobody understands what you're going through. So it's important. It's very important to have that community, because your friends can support you and they can help you, motivate you, but nobody knows what you actually feel other than the people that have the same illness and feel the same feelings. So that's very important. That's why I think that Instagram is great for that. It's great to connect people in our communities that are struggling and they need some motivation and they need some hope.
I like it when, like, I ask, or people ask me to come on a podcast, or have a conversation, or just message. I think it's great. Like, most people who come on, I always ask before I start an interview or anything like that. I always ask, have you done anything like this before? Is this your first time? And majority say it's my first time, and I think it's great, because I'd rather have someone it's their first time than someone else who's done it. I've had people that have done it before, but it's nice. It's nice when you have new people who haven't. It's their first time, because it's something for them to, probably a memory for them, and they can share with their friends that probably are unaware or don't have the condition themselves. So just sort of voice recording is better than maybe explaining, like, face to face.
It gives people a chance to tell their story too. I think that's important. When you tell your story out loud, sometimes you can be thinking a lot of things, and then when you speak it out loud and other people hear it, it can be captivating for other people and be very interesting, even though that's just your life and what you've been through. But when you start to get into detail about your life and what you have to go through on a daily basis, it can draw people's attention. It can also, it can help them in their own lives too.
Yeah. I think like when I was told it was rare, I wasn't happy when I was told it was rare, because I thought, like, you think that you're the only one that has it. I get handed a leaflet when I was diagnosed, and I look at it, it didn't tell me much. It just said I got Crohn's and what maybe it could affect. And then, as we said, I went home and looked on the internet, but then I noticed that other people have it. But I wouldn't, to my friends that who doesn't have it, I wouldn't say like personal things to them. Possibly I would on the podcast to people to understand, but not. I wouldn't go say, like, because I sometimes have a fistula, and I wouldn't say to a friend I've got a fistula, look at me. But it's like, unless they probably understood, but it's personal. But it's hard to explain these things that we have, and like life. Just for example, you say we have fatigue, and the friend, maybe they would say I have fatigue as well. So it is hard to explain maybe how bad our fatigue is to maybe someone that hasn't got a chronic illness. But I know sometimes we wish people understood the way we feel that don't understand. But I wouldn't wish my chronic illness upon another person that hasn't got it themselves. But I do think that people do have these chronic illnesses. They have them because that they can fight it.
Exactly. Yeah, they're strong enough to deal with it.
Yeah. Because it's always hard at the start. Diagnosis is probably pretty hard as well. I know some people a lot of people will get misdiagnosed with it. Maybe with another chronic illness, or some people have multiple, not just one. Which can be hard, because like you like one maybe piece of treatment could affect another chronic illness, which it's quite sad that I hear people that do have more than one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. I know a lot of people that have more than one. It's I just think that it creates such a, I think that there's two different types of people in our communities. From my experience, I've been doing this for a while now. I've talked with a lot of people. I've been on a lot of different podcasts, different shows, and I think that there's two different attitudes in our community. There's the attitude of, like we talked about earlier, why me? I'll never get through this. This sucks. Why do I have to have this? And they kind of accept it and fall to their illness. They let their illness control their life and control their decisions that they make in their life. And then there's the other side of the spectrum, which I would consider myself on, is the person that gets up and fights back against the illness, doesn't let it control their life, lives their life no matter how sick, how fatigued, how tired they are, they get up and they do it. And I think that we have to teach in our communities that it's very, very important to develop that strong mentality and be on the other side of the spectrum. Because once you become on this side of the spectrum and you start feeling sorry for yourself, and you start giving yourself excuses, you start putting yourself down, you start putting yourself in a box, you start to think about yourself as somebody who isn't worthy of certain things because of your illness. That's a very dangerous game, because once that starts, whether we like to accept it or not, it's going to affect our entire life. It's going to affect our relationships, and it's going to be a very lonely journey for us. We have to embrace what we have. I know I'm not saying this that it's easy and it's just like, oh yeah, everything's great. It's very difficult. It's not like it's, rainbows and we're just jumping around for joy. It's very difficult to accept that fact, and accept the fact that people may treat you differently because of that. And that's okay too. And, it doesn't, in the long run, and 20, 30 years from now, it's not going to matter if this person over here didn't like you because you have cystic fibrosis or because you have Crohn's or autism. It doesn't matter what that person thinks. The people that are supposed to be in your life, that are going to support you, that are going to push you and really get behind you, are going to be there whether you like it or not. So that's the kind of attitude we have to push and try to change we have to change the dynamic, the dynamic of chronic conditions, and the way that people, first of all, the people that look at us, we have to change the way that they see us and what we do. And that's a big thing that I preach in my communities. I want to change the way people see people with chronic conditions. Yeah. I want to change, when you think of cystic fibrosis, you think of the guy who's the strong person, and wow, look at what he's overcome, and not the person like, oh, that guy's just sick and ill, don't bother with him. We have to change that dynamic, and that's something that I'm working on.
Yeah, hopefully we accomplish those goals. And
I think, and if we don't, we can set the tone, for the people that come after us. Because it's not going to start with anybody else but us. So if we don't have people doing it, starting that trend, then it's just not going to happen. So we have to be the people in the forefront to kind of change that way for the people that come behind us, our kids, kids, or whatever it may be, that they can, they don't have to be embarrassed, or they don't have to hide their lives for 20 something, 30 something years because they don't want to be judged or looked at differently because they're sick and something that they're born with and something that they have no control over. And I think that's the work that we're doing here.
Yeah. I think it's great. Like a podcast is fun. I've it's just it's a hobby. I think it comes into being a hobby, and you think it's maybe it's something that people have podcasts that last years. People have podcasts that last not that long. But it's the thing about a podcast is you choose, or your team chooses that when you want to do it. It's all on you. It's like I suppose as such, it's like having your own personal business. Like, yeah.
Most things in life are business related, whether we want to accept it or not. It's most of it. Relationships are a business. Your job, there's a lot of things that are business formatted, or you're selling your, what I mean, stuff like that. So yeah, business runs into everything in life, I think.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask James, because you said that most of your family is from England, and because you so would you born in England and then you came across to America?
So I'm actually the first American born in my entire family.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody else, my aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, are all from Liverpool. I was born in the United States, so I'm the first American in my whole family. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you ever go down to England
Yeah, my nan and granddad still live there, and one of my uncles lives there. So, but I haven't been back. It's been about, I would say, 10 years. Okay. But my nan and granddad have been here. We normally bring them here because it's just all the families out here anyways, so it's easier for them.
Yeah. And I've I haven't been to Liverpool, but I know it's a nice place.
Where are you from?
I'm from like Essex, so like
Okay.
so I'm not that far from Liverpool really.
Yeah, I know where you are. Yeah.
Yeah, so I do plan to go to Liverpool though, because I like Doctor Who, and Doctor
There
Who
you go.
was yeah, that Doctor Who was filmed there, the last
Yeah.
series, and they're having a like a history. They have in their museum. They're having this like fictional like experience where you can go around it and have like different types of like monsters of Doctor Who there, and like it'd be pretty cool. And it's based in Liverpool, so
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna go there and see it. And I know there was a in a Doctor Who episode there was that they used the house behind Anfield Stadium, Liverpool Stadium. So
Yeah,
I might go there and see see if
nice.
what it's like. Be
That'll be
pretty
good.
cool. Be
Yeah,
pretty
that's
cool. Yeah. And just one of the last things, just to finish off,
okay.
James, if you could like say a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah. So the way that me and Mason have connected is because me and three of the guys that are on my podcast that I host, or our podcast, is called Chronic Power Podcast. We had the idea of bringing four guys together that all have chronic conditions. I have cystic fibrosis. One of the guys has type 1 diabetes. The other guys has Crohn's, and the other one has sickle cell. So, we're just four guys that are athletes that have overcome all the odds with our chronic conditions. And we have conversations about in-depth things in our community, as far as relationships, jobs, dealing with death, dealing with, everything you can imagine, all the ins and the outs of people with chronic conditions. And we've been working on it for over a year. We just had Mason on a couple weeks ago as one of our guests. So yeah, if you guys can go check it out, go follow it on Instagram. It's called Chronic Power Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we're trying to, just change the way people see men and people in general with chronic conditions.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, because like for the people who are listening, like we had Nick on, I had Nick on, and he mentioned that he had a podcast, and like we talked about well, there was an arrangement where I came on the podcast, which James is the host of, and I went on there and we had a nice conversation. And all all the people on there, as you say, that are involved with it are sportier, so that they're into do with sports. I think a person on there is a football, and one's a bodybuilder, and your fitness. Like
Yeah. We're all some sort of athletic or some
Yeah.
sort of fitness orientated. So yeah, we're trying to change the game.
Yeah, I think it's good, because not everyone sees a chronic illness as fitness, and most people maybe hide it for a while. Like you have a former Man United player called Darren Fletcher, who has ulcerative colitis, and he during some games he went off because he needed a toilet, and during the game, and of course no one would have known that until he came out and said that. So
Yeah.
there are various actors, and it's nice when you have maybe high profile people who come out and they
Yeah.
they probably help other people that are not so confident to talk about their journeys.
Yeah, that's a interesting topic. I think there's a lot of people that are in the public eye that have chronic conditions, but they don't tell anybody because it will affect their same thing that we're talking about here, but just on a larger scale. It'll affect their fan base. It'll affect their jobs. It'll affect, them, their playing time on the, soccer field, football field, whatever you want to call it. It'll affect those times too. So that's another big thing, is like, when we're trying to make it acceptable and make it something that people are proud of rather than scared of.
Yeah, definitely. And like I know a few, like in the UK we have a Strictly Come Dancing show where a dancer has Crohn's, and I know a Doctor Who actor who currently plays as the Master in Doctor Who has Crohn's as well. So and that's only recently and like people like it's not just that people will come forward from a lot high profile people will come forward to having different chronic illnesses. I know someone that recently was in the show called Prison Break that came forward and said they have autism and getting diagnosed as an adult, because with autism, James, it's quite rare for people to get diagnosed as an adult. So but people do, but it's most likely people do get diagnosed when they're quite young.
Yeah.
But I think it's great when people in general, if you're a high profile celebrity or you're not, it's good when you talk about your story and just on social media. And since I've done that, I haven't really come across any mean people saying anything bad on social media about my condition.
That's good. I think that, on the larger scale, like when we talk about celebrities, professional athletes, I think it's going to happen more on their end because they have so many people following them and showing. They're going to be the ones to get most of that backlash, and that could be a huge reason why they don't want to, come out and tell people about it. Definitely.
I think they would get that anyway, even if they didn't tell they have like Crohn's or a chronic illness, because that's what happens when you're a celebrity. You get like millions of people following you on Instagram, and you probably get thousands of messages on there as well, which isn't well, I know I wouldn't want that. So because I think it's good. There's good things about being a celebrity, but there's bad things as well.
Of course, there's good and bad in anything.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you again, James. It's been a fantastic conversation, and it's nice to return the favor for you to come on my show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It was good talk.
Definitely. And if James, if you could just say your podcast again so everyone knows.
Yeah, my podcast is Chronic Power Podcast on Instagram, and my personal Instagram, where I do a lot of my advocacy for cystic fibrosis personal stuff, is JamesRich23.
There you go. And then you all go check that out, and you can check out what James is getting up with his awareness, and also the podcast as well, which I think he shares on his page as well as on the Chronic Illness Power page as well, and on the music and Spotify platforms as well.
Exactly, it's on all those platforms.
Yeah.
Spotify.
All right. Well, thank you again, James. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.